Okay, perfect. Welcome to Wednesday. We're almost halfway through. Great day yesterday, lots going on. Today it's going to even heat up even more. I mean, there's just a tremendous amount of stuff going on, especially with Leg Ecosystem Day. A lot of very interesting sessions and speakers to come today. And we're going to kick it off in really grand style this morning. But first, a few notes about schedules and various activities that are going on that everybody should be aware of. So again, we're thanking Arrow, our sponsor. One of the interesting things that another board that Arrow has actually been working on with Freescale, which is another Linaro member, is there's another 96 board, the IMX7 is actually a 96 board format. So that'll be coming in the first quarter of next year. So just another board to the 96 board family. There'll be more behind that as well. So we're excited about it. It continues to build the momentum and the flexibility of this platform. There's also a 96 board starter giveaway, and I'm gonna walk down and maybe you can pass it up to me. It's actually very professionally done. So it's a starter kit. It's got a lot of nice little mezzanine board and an Arduino interface in it, and we have a bunch of these for free. It was announced earlier. Maybe people, it was kind of sleepy maybe on Monday morning. People didn't really understand what we were talking about. So this is actually the kit. It's been put together quite professionally, and you can get one. You can go to the URL that's listed there and basically and sign up for one of these. Be really handy. We're sure that everybody would enjoy it. That's actually a picture of the production, the Arrow production version of the Dragon Board 410C. We started to get the first ones yesterday, so it looks a little bit different because it's got the heat covers on them, and it's a pretty sexy looking board if I don't say so myself. And those are starting to run off the production line. There are thousands of these being made, and there's tremendous demand for them. We're really excited about it, and it's really starting to get going this month. So tonight is members VIP event night. It's going to be at the Barrel House, which is in downtown Burlingame. Buses are going to start to leave here at 6:45 tonight, and they'll be constantly looping. It's only 5-minute ride away. They'll be constantly looping throughout the event, so you can come back here, go back there, whatever you like. Come to the registration desk to catch the bus. There'll be folks there to guide you in the right direction. If you haven't responded to your invitation yet, please do so. We tried to send everybody an email yesterday because we were concerned maybe it got lost in all the mail that was going on about Connect. But if you haven't confirmed your registration yet, you can go to the registration desk right after the opening this morning or during the day today and just confirm provide your RSVP. Let us know that you're coming. So there's a few schedule notes today. We have a Linaro China team meeting. That's going to be at 4:10 in Grand Peninsula F, which is also called S2. I think it's over here. So that's at 4:10 today. There's also a Linaro employee all hands meeting today at 5 o'clock in this room. So if you're a Linaro employee, please be back here at 5. Nicholas Petrie is also running a BOF session, which should be pretty interesting, about reducing the ARM Linux kernel size in memory. So that should be really good. That's in Grand Peninsula E at 2. Tonight there's gaming night in the atrium upstairs. So that should be fun. It's sort of a casual night. It's relaxing. There's a bunch of games there. People can bring their own games. It should be good. It's a tradition at Connect that we do this on Wednesday night. Sessions are going to start directly after this meeting. There's still a few more slots left for the birthday bash on Thursday night, which is taking place at the Computer Museum. That is going to be a really fun night. There's a lot of stuff planned for that as well. And so if you haven't RSVP'd, everyone's invited. If you haven't RSVP'd to let us know that you'll be coming, you could either do that in email or stop by the registration desk. As I promised yesterday, for everyone who hasn't filled out a survey, so there's 3 categories of people. There are employee surveys, there are assigning engineer surveys, and there are member surveys. So for anyone who hasn't filled out their survey, you should have gotten a new link yesterday. So if you didn't see it, check your spam. We really are asking you for your participation. We take the feedback seriously, and it helps improve everything for everyone in Linaro. So please let us know. We're not psychic. We tried. It didn't work. We need your actual feedback to understand what's going on. So please take the survey. It should only take 5 or 10 minutes for you. Is this the best Connect network ever? I mean, I've just heard tremendously positive feedback from everybody about the network here. The network in the meeting rooms, the network in the rooms themselves has been just fantastic. And we live and breathe on this stuff, as everyone knows. So we're really happy about that. So if you haven't got your Linaro 5-year commemorative t-shirt, you can also stop by the registration desk. They're prepared to help anybody today. So if you don't have one, stop by there. There's one for everyone who's attending Connect this week. And we'd like everyone to have it. It's a special edition. And the competitions are going. And the photo competition, so take a great photo, use your smartphone, take a photo, send it off. We'll get it posted, and we'll award the prizes on Friday. There are some really good prizes, so it's a pretty easy thing to do. Everyone can participate, and it's fun as well. We get some great pictures as a result of it. There is also a competition related to the attendee bag. And there's something going on with the attendee bag. If you got that little bag from the front desk, and you can take a look at it. And to help out, we've sent out, you should have it in your mail this morning, we've sent out a picture of what's going on in that bag, so you don't have to physically carry the bag around with you. And take a look. One person at the event, and we have over 500 people at the event, one engineer has been smart enough to figure this out and has put their name in, and they were correct. So if you can figure out what it says and you decode it, you do what it says, and you'll join this singular person. Now, I can't believe there's one engineer, and it's a person from ARM, I'll tell you too. There's one guy from ARM who's figured it out. So this is a competition. We're counting on some others to do this as well, and we're sure somebody else will figure it out too. And we'll announce the winners on Friday. So just sort of in the theme of prior connects, this I think is my personal favorite of the group photos from prior connects. This was at the Gold Coast. We went there twice, so this is the Gold Coast 2, the second time we went there. If you're in this picture, raise your hand. Yeah, it's a pretty reasonable number of people. So this was a great connect. A lot of good people in there. You got to love the red lanterns from New Year's surrounding the framing it. So today's ARM server ecosystem day, as I mentioned, and there's a lot going on, a lot of speakers. So we're going to have two great keynote speakers this morning, and then they're going to be followed by a bunch of other speakers. So here are some of the speakers that you'll be able to hear from today. It's going to go throughout the day. It's not just about the keynotes this morning, but the keynotes are really going to hit it off strongly, and then there's a lot of interesting stuff. Andrea and Martin have done a terrific job in terms of organizing this day. If you like ARM server and the ARM server ecosystem, you're going to get a lot from today. We promise that. So our keynotes are going to be started by enabling the ARM server for the data center from Suresh, who's the general manager of the server business unit at AMD. He's joining us this morning. He's going to get it kicked off. And then cloud computing infrastructure of digital technology era, and that's from Tiger Hu, who is the architect of infrastructure from Alibaba. You couldn't ask for two better guys to really knock it out of the park and get us going on an exciting day on ARM server. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Suresh.
All right. Good morning, folks. The Amber Alerts are still going on somewhere. Woke me up in the morning as well. So I'm going to be talking about our journey over the past few years, actually the story of how the whole community is enabling ARM servers. And for the folks who are in the Linaro community, as I go through the story, you'll say, hey, that's me, that's my part, right? Which is absolutely true. This is as much your story and your company's story as it is mine and AMD's story, right? This is a very big effort over the last few years to make sure that we get robust development environment out there for everybody. I'm extremely proud of what the Linaro community has done over the past years. And to that end, I would like to give a round of applause to the folks who are in the Linaro community. If you could stand up, that would be great. I know there are folks from the Linaro community up here. Nobody wants to stand up early in the morning, I guess. But a tremendous effort, guys. I mean, it has been an absolute pleasure to be part of the community and work with everybody in the team. From the development community as well as my competitors, everybody. It's a very good effort to get this thing going. All right. So a few years ago, AMD decided that we wanted to add ARM-based server processors to our portfolio. Right? We did that basically from the demand that we were hearing from customers for choice. They wanted to attack some of the applications that are running within the data center and some of those things that were changing to more of what we now call the software-defined implementations, right? So there were a lot of adjacencies that were being pulled into the data centers or feeding into the data centers that would leverage a lot of the ARM architecture. So that was the reason why we went into the ARM server processors. And once we did that, we said, okay, what does it take to enable ARM into the data center? We have a lot of experience bringing in innovations into the data centers. We have a lot of customers worldwide who deploy our x86 processors in. How do we leverage all of those things, and how do we bring a robust solution into that market? Pretty soon, it became very clear. It's all about software, right? We know how to build chips. We know how to build boards. We know how to get all of those things out, but it's all about software. The blindingly obvious one is we need all the workloads to be supported. We need all the applications to be there. But at the same time, equally important is how do we make it easily usable, easily adoptable by the developers? Right? And the other aspect of it is we're going to launch these servers into an ocean of x86 processors out there. Right? So people are used to running things a certain way, and we are saying that here's the new server, and if it looks quite different and it's very different to operate, it's going to be an adoption problem as well. So we need to address the software that helps in the deployment and in the management of these servers as well. So those were very obvious to us right when we started. So let's look at that into a little bit more detail. The first thing that came to mind was processor compliance. Not just the instructions and set compliance for ARM, that's a given, but if we don't have cross-platform portability, it's going to be very difficult for developers to adopt it, right? For folks who are old enough to remember the early embedded development days, right? Every processor was done a different way. You had to go do your different tweaks to the OS, to everything from the kernel to the BIOS equivalent. You had to go do different things to make it all work. And if you wanted to change out a processor or take advantage of a new processor coming out, it was extremely difficult. But we kind of, over a period of time, corralled that. But we didn't want to get into that in these server lands. We wanted to make sure that it's a solution that thinks about that right up front. So that was important. We'll talk about that a bit more. The next thing was standards-based firmware. Again, the goal was to make sure that people are familiar with a lot of the things. It shouldn't be very hard to go make an ARM server work. So we chose, as a community, we chose a lot of standards. We'll get into that in a little bit. And then, of course, we need OS and hypervisors. We need development tools, without which there is no ecosystem. So we had to go do that. The next thing that we wanted to do was security. Right? We wanted to make sure that, given all the concerns about security, not just on your laptops or tablets, but also on the server side, with all the hacking and all the people putting unwanted code on your server, et cetera, we wanted to make sure that there's a ability to do a trusted execution environment. We didn't want to do it as an AMD proprietary one. We wanted to choose something that people are familiar with. You can implement it on your own, or you can go buy a pre-implemented solution that you trust. Right? So that was the thought process there. The next, of course, we need hardware for development as well as for production systems. And finally, you need to have the volume of applications. Right? If it all ends up being there's only one application that this is suitable for, then that's not a good state. It's not a vibrant ecosystem. So you want that volume of applications. So doing all the other things is to facilitate the volume of applications that come about. Right? And this is something that AMD was thinking about. This is something that a lot of other companies who are part of Linaro was also thinking about. Right? So it is a collection of us getting together and doing this. So it is very difficult for me to delineate, hey, this is what AMD did and this is what the community did, right? Because it's a very collaborative effort there. So let's start with the processor, and then we'll go around and look at each of these things. So on the processor side, AMD's processor is called Opteron A1100. It's I think most people just call it Seattle processor. A lot of you are familiar with it, and a fair number of you have developed on it. So I'm not going to go into this is not a processor pitch, so I'm not going to go into the details of the processor. A lot of AMD folks here, if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer those. The most important thing I wanted to touch about is this is SDSA compliant, which is it's a way of software to target multiple processors, not just AMD processors, but other processors, an abstraction ability. So you can target multiple processors using this, and you get cross-platform portability using that. Okay, standards-based firmware. These were the standards that, as a group, we chose. I like those choices. But this was not without its controversy, right? When we decided to go this way, a few of my colleagues got really nasty emails because some people didn't like some of the standard choices that the group was making. But there was no bad intention on the part of the group. What the group was thinking of was, hey, we want to make this as easily adoptable as possible, right? Why invent a new thing when you're trying to make it easy for the developer to use? So that was our thought process, and the community lined up for it. And we have even Tiana Core version of the firmware implemented and available. And PCI Express was another choice. Right? This was very important in the server landscape. Everybody uses PCIe, so we wanted to bring that in. I'm happy to see that Linux community support with us with upstreaming all of that activity. By the way, when we get into this market, we wanted to make sure that we upstream everything. It's available through the distributions. It's available in Linux itself. Because I would absolutely hate to go bring something and then go, I have to stand on my do this to make things work. Right? So everything that we have done has been upstream. It is available either through Linux itself or Fedora, all kinds of implementations. We'll get into the operating systems in a bit, but that was one of our key tenets, is that when we do it, when we ship a reference board, whether it is from AMD or whether it is from one of the partners, the customer should have, or the developer should have, a great experience doing it. They should be able to make it work as soon as they get it. Right? And we use that principle even in our design. We were able to bring up a lot of the operating systems, a lot of the applications within minutes to hours of the processor seeing the code. Which is a great experience for us. It's a great experience, hopefully, for all the people who are developing using these systems. Next thing, OS and hypervisors. This is not an exhaustive list. These are folks who have talked about stuff as either released into production or as developer previews. These are all available for all of you to use today. It's easy to put a few logos up here. It's a tremendous effort, both from the Linaro team as well as the Linux community, to make sure that everything gets upstreamed and gets ready to go. Next thing, developer tools. Right? This is something that is absolutely needed, but nobody talks about it. Right? Again, not an exhaustive list, but everything from compilers to debuggers to scripting tools to Java is available, working. It's available. You can download it, you can use it. It's all there. And I want to really call out all the people in the Linaro community who are working on these tools. Without these tools, the ecosystem doesn't exist. Right? Nobody can develop anything. So let me talk a little bit about the trusted execution environment. In each Seattle processor, we have a dedicated 32-bit microcontroller that just absolutely just works on the trusted execution environment. It has its own isolated boot ROM, SRAM, a secure path into external NVRAM for firmware, and it is 100% ARM trust zone compliant. Right? So what it means is that you can do your own, or you can go buy a solution that meets that, that certification, and you'll be all set to go. And with that, I'm going to talk a little bit about hardware. And rather than me just talking about it, I'm going to invite Norm Fraser. Where is he? Norm, come on over. He's the CEO of SoftIron. SoftIron just today announced this product out here. So thank you, Norm. I know what is inside, but you do the honors, Oh, you can probably stay there and talk. First of all,
how often do you get to do that in your career?
First of all, introduce SoftIron,
sure.
and then.
It's a great pleasure to be here in this august company. The SoftIron team have been working together on various projects for about 20 years. We're really well seasoned. But we set up SoftIron 3 years ago as a dedicated ARM-focused enterprise server development company. And we've had a whole lot of fun. And we started from day one recognizing that the server space is an international market. From day one, we had a presence here in the Valley and in Europe. And we've got a great team who's been working with AMD. It's been a real pleasure. Thanks, Suresh. And it's my pleasure to announce today the launch of our Overdrive 3000 server, which is an ideal development system. It ships, of course, with the Seattle system, the Opteron A1100, and that's got 8 cores. It ships with 8 gig of DDR3 RAM. It's got 2 10G-base-T ports, and it goes like a rocket. You can see a demo over on the side at the end there, the left-hand side afterwards.
Actually, that is much better to look at because the top is made with plastic, so you can see.
You can see under the hood. It also ships fully set up with a bunch of software on there. It ships with SUSE Linux and a whole set of tools that you might find interesting, complete toolchain, web server, database, scripting, virtualization. Lots of great toys to play with. And like we say, we think it's a fantastic development platform for people working in the ARM ecosystem. You can go online, softiron.co.uk, and place your orders today. And we're happy to take your money and to ship you a fantastic tool. That doesn't break the rules, does it?
You know.
I should also say that Suresh talked about AMD's commitment to upstreaming. At SoftIron, we've shared that same approach, and we've pushed a bunch of stuff up there. And hopefully that will help everybody who works with our system to do funky things in future.
So it comes loaded with a base set of software so that you can, out of the box,
Out of the box, plug and play.
Okay.
Yeah. Enjoy.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Mike. So you should check it out. You should ask Tim or Phil to plug one of those things up. It is, as he said, it's pimped up. So you should go look at that one. So we also, as I'm sure many folks mentioned this, in pretty short order, you should see the Husky board coming out as well, the 96 boards version of it should be shipping out shortly as well. So this also will be supported with everything upstream. So when you get these boards, it should be a very good experience for you as you develop on these things. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some of the stacks. Right, I couldn't put all the stacks up there. I needed some more room to show where the future goes. So we have platforms. You saw the development platforms. You'll soon see production platforms out. We talked about standards-based firmware. We're talking about operating systems and hypervisors. All the drivers that are needed are already in there, so you don't have to worry about those things. We are very, my team members are in the audience here as well. They will tell you that I'm a dictator when it comes to these things, right? I'm not going to ship something where the developer has to spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to use it. Right? So we have those things up there, and then of course the development environment, and then from a workload perspective, web serving, storage. I've showed a couple of the stacks there. There are other folks working on additional workloads, and you will see them do their own announcements as we go along. And this is where the foundation is there. It is something that we encourage all the developers to go look at. Okay, take these things and how do I port my workload onto ARM? So this is where we are going next. Okay. All right. So if you look at what the community has achieved, right, we have built the foundation, a great foundation for a sustainable ecosystem. We have made sure that there is a standard software development target, there's cross-platform portability, and we have simplified the management and deployment. I didn't spend a lot of time talking about that aspect of it, but if you look at systems such as the one from SoftIron, you would see that you can plug, it's not just plug and play for the development aspect of it, but you can easily introduce it into your network and manage it using a lot of the standards that you would use normally. Right? So that is there as well. And my call to action to everybody is that with this foundation, build on this momentum, and let's get to that volume of applications that we need to get to for the ARM server, and let's take that to the next level. All right. So that's my my spiel for about this, but normally I would like to answer a lot of questions, so that's why I didn't bore you with a big, long speech. So I'll take some questions if you have.
Is Seattle awesome or is it awesome? Is Seattle awesome or is it awesome?
I think it's awesomer, I think. All right, there should be some questions. Oh, this is strange. You know, I was probably, there he is. Okay.
Tell us about the successor systems to the Seattle.
Successor in the, you put me in a spot. We are in our quiet period here, but I've been in my quiet period. I'll get killed when I get to the office if I talk about it. But let's say that we have plans for it. And if you want to get an idea of it, you should go look at, if we have a webcast of our Financial Analyst Day that talks about what's coming out in 16, 17, and so on and so forth. You can get an idea from there. That's a question here. Okay.
Not so much a question, more as a comment. Thank you for doing it right. Thank you for pushing stuff upstream. It's exactly what everybody wants.
I think it's a very good summarization of what a basic server is, but I think AMD is really good at APU. You didn't mention anything about this. So on the GPU side, what you are planning? Work with ARM.
What was the question about APUs?
Yeah, GPU. Yeah, using GPU in ARM-based servers.
Okay. So the question was about GPUs in ARM-based server. If you look at, I didn't go into the details of the Seattle processor, but if you look at it, we have PCI Express coming out. We know that we can plug in our FirePro GPU cards onto that, and we can make that work. So we haven't launched that into the systems yet, but in the labs we have that working. There's nothing there that prevents a GPU card from being plugged in and used in the server environment, because there's a Linux drivers for the GPUs, and this is a very standard implementation for PCIe, so it will work.
So we are seeing the 64-bit CPUs deployed in embedded and in servers. I'm wondering if you have any plans to also cover the middle ground, which would be desktops and laptops.
The processor, the question was, is there any plans into desktops and laptops kind of things? The SoC, the CPU is designed with a lot of I/O capabilities that are targeted towards the server, a lot of which is not needed for a laptop or desktop probably, but not necessarily for a laptop. So we are not planning to introduce this technology into our laptops, but if somebody builds a desktop, I think you could.
I would say in our labs, we've got people running. Oh, yeah, thanks. In Red Hat's labs, we've got a lot of people running Seattle boxes as desktops, kind of for fun right now with AMD graphics cards, and they work great. Run a GNOME shell, everything's great. That's the lead into my question, which is the first serious question I'll ask. For Husky, for the 96 boards, right? So there you've got a board you can put it into a case. If you want to build a low-cost desktop as a developer and develop on an ARM platform, have PCI, have USB, run your desktop environment, you can do that. What do you want to see in a year from now when we're all reconvening, here in the US for the USA version of next year's Connect? Where do you want to see this having gone a year after the 96 board, the low-cost developer platforms start to appear?
For me, the longer term is what's up there, right? The volume of applications. That is going to be the critical aspect of all of these things. The team has put a tremendous amount of effort and done a great job building that foundation up there. But it is now about the volume of applications. And John is right. The form factors that we have for our reference designs, they're all standard ITX type form factors. I'm pretty sure that the form factor that Norman showed in that box, you could put it into a desktop and use it as a desktop. There's a lot of places where people take that board and use it as a desktop, right? Plug in a graphics card, plug in, you have USB coming out of it. So there is nothing preventing it from productizing it into a desktop. It's going to be based on what the OEMs want to do. The primary focus, of course, for us has been server class I/O and memory. I think I can probably take one more question. All right.
So on some of the other 96 boards, there's been portions of it that people have been reluctant to open source, such as boot environments. Is there anything that you can speak on the 96 enterprise board that might be of concern, or things that you might be targeting explicitly for open sourcing there?
The board is not out there yet, so I cannot say whether there will be problems or not. But in terms of how we have done the software for the rest of the development environment, I think the same thing will apply here. So I anticipate that this will be a great customer experience for everybody using it. I realize that some of the other boards you have to go grab things from various spots. We try to work with our partners and make sure that there is either a quick download that folks can do, or in the case of something like SoftIron is doing, they're shipping with a disk drive with everything loaded so that you're powered up and go. This might come as this, right? And you have to plug in your SODIMMs and other things. But what I would do is I would encourage my team to go work with the Linaro team, is to make sure that there is a single spot where you can download stuff from and get it going. So that would be the test of it, right? And we'll make sure that we'll work with Linaro to make sure that's there. And we have done a lot of plug fests with various SODIMMs and DIMMs and stuff like that. That's the standard procedure for us, right? So we are not just going to say it'll only work with that DIMM or this DIMM kind of thing, but we have done a lot of plug fest with various types of DIMMs, SODIMM or LRDIMMs or RDIMMs or UDIMMs from different manufacturers and so on and so forth. So. All right, I think I ran out of time. This says 00 in red. Thanks everybody.
So I just want to thank